Hey guys, this week's video is dedicated to the complete recovery of Masha Bas Batsheva. I'm going to do a little Yiddish lesson with you. There's a term derher, and there's no great English translation, but loosely it's translated as like to really hear something, to internalize it. Like the Yiddish word for hearing is her. I hear what you're saying, I hear you. To derher is hearing on a different level. It's absorbing what you said with my whole being, internalizing what I heard. Like really absorbing that message. That's to derher. It takes over your whole being. This week's Torah Parsha, Parsha V'eschanan, Moshe is recounting what happened the last 40 years in the desert, and he recounts the story of the giving of the Torah, and he recounts it in all the detail. And one of the details he recounts is an interesting one. He says, God gave the Torah, the voice of God did not cease. And the Medrash explains, what does it mean the voice didn't cease? It means there was a miracle. There was no echo. God's voice boomed throughout the world, the 10 Commandments, and there was no echo. There should have been a thunderous echo, miraculously no echo. And it seems like a silly miracle. Like was God doing a sound check? And like, oh, there's an echo, boom, let's go. Miracle, no echo. Come on, like what's the point of this? There's a valuable lesson here in how we live according to the Torah and how we absorb godliness in our own lives. What is an echo? An echo is sound waves bouncing off. There's nothing to absorb it. We walk into an empty room, an empty apartment, we yell, boom, there's an echo. You put in some furniture, a few couches, tables, and chairs, and it absorbs the sound waves. What happened at the giving of the Torah is that the world absorbed the sound of God, absorbed the voice of God, absorbed the Torah. Godliness and spirituality. This is an important lesson because many times we think like, oh, what I'm doing right now, that's not spiritual, that's not godly. What I'm doing, it's just daily activities. That has nothing to do with God. No, the entire world, mountains, trees, grass, they all absorb. Even things that like don't usually absorb sound, they all absorb the sound and voice of God. And you know, it's very hard to get from that level of hair, of hearing somebody, to derher, to really internalizing. You know, we all have things in our life that we resolve to do or not to do. You know, we resolve to do some positive behavior or we resolve to stay away from something negative. But it doesn't always lead to action. You know, like we know texting and driving is dangerous. We know smoking is unhealthy for us. And yet, even though we understand these messages and we really know them, even if somebody resolves not to do them, usually they'll find themselves doing them again. Not texting and driving. Even if somebody resolves not to do it, sometimes they end up doing it again. But somebody who, God forbid, suffered a tragedy because of texting and driving, or somebody because of smoking, they understand this message on a whole different level. They've absorbed it to the fact where it changes their whole lifestyle, where they know they're not going to do this because they've heard this message in a different way. And God forbid, we should never need tragedies to really absorb a message that we need to hear. But we all have things in our lives that we resolve to do or not to do. And to get from that point of resolve to action, to cross that bridge from hair, from hearing, I hear you, to derher, to I really absorb this message, takes practice. There's no secret ingredient to doing it. Sometimes it just means getting up and actually doing it without, you know, thinking about it and lecturing about it. It just means this is something I have to do. I get up and I do it. And so, God willing, this is something we should all keep working on, to absorb these lessons, to bring godliness into all aspects of our lives. And those things that we need to resolve to do or to stay away from, we should not just resolve to do them, we should actually do them. Shabbat Shalom.